Well, greetings, lady and gentlemen. Welcome back to Dunder Reads You to Sleep. This is part 2 of Original Dungeons & Dragons, Men and Magic, Volume 1 of 3 booklets. So, we last left off with a reading of the levels and number of experience points necessary to attain them. We'll pick up on page 17 with statistics regarding classes. So the first table I have here has 4 columns. The first table is for fighting men, and it has their ranks in the first column. The second column is dice for accumulative hits. The third column is fighting capability. And the fourth column says spells and level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for all levels of fighting men, it's nil. So I'm not going to be reading that column. I'll just read from left to right, down the table, calling out the headers for each section, so it's not as confusing. This being an audio only mode. Fighting men. Veteran. Dice for accumulative hits, 1 + 1. Fighting capability. Man +1. The next level is Warrior. Dice for accumulative hits, 2. Fighting capability, 2 men +1. The third level is Swordsman. Dice for accumulative hits, 3. Fighting capability, 3 men, or Hero -1. The next level is Hero. Dice for accumulative hits, 4. Fighting capability, Hero. The next level is Swashbuckler. Dice for accumulative hits 5 + 1. Fighting capability Hero +1 or 5 men. The next level is Myrmidon. Dice for accumulative hits 6. Fighting capability Hero +1 or 6 men. The next level is Champion. 7 + 1 is the dice for accumulative hits. And the fighting capability is Superhero -1. The next level is Superhero. Dice for accumulative hits 8 + 2. The fighting capability is Superhero. Next up we have Lord. Dice for accumulative hits is 9 + 3. And fighting capability is Superhero +1. And finally we have Lord 10th level. Dice for accumulative hits 10 + 1. Fighting capability Superhero +1. Next up we have the Magic Users table, which has all of the columns that the Fighting Man one did, but also has the spells and level. So here we go. Medium. Dice for accumulative hits 1. Fighting capability Man. Spells and level. They have 1 spell at the first level. Next up we have Seer. Dice for accumulative hits 1 + 1. Fighting capability Man +1. And they have 2 spells at the first level. Next up is Conjurer. Dice for accumulative hits 2. Fighting capability 2 men. They have 3 spells of the first level and 1 spell of the second level. Following that is Theurgist. Dice for accumulative hits 2 + 1. Fighting capability 2 men +1. And a Theurgist has 4 level 1 spells and 2 level 2 spells. Above that is Thaumaturgist, which has dice for accumulative hits of 3 and fighting capability of 3 men, 4 level 1 spells, 2 level 2 spells, and 1 level 3 spell. Next up is Magician. Dice for accumulative hits is 3 + 1. Fighting capability is 3 men +1. 4 level 1 spells, 2 level 2 spells, 2 level 3 spells. Above Magician we have Enchanter. Dice for accumulative hits is 4. Fighting capability is Hero -1. 4 level 1 spells, 3 level 2 spells, 2 level 3 spells, and 1 level 4 spell. Above the Enchanter is the Warlock, who has 5 dice for accumulative hits. Man, it's hard to say that over and over. They have a fighting capability of Hero. The Warlock has 4 level 1s, 3 level 2s, 3 level 3s, and 2 level 4 spells. Next up is the sorcerer. 6 plus 1 dice for cumulative hits. Their fighting capability is hero plus 1. The sorcerer gets 4 level 1 spells, 3 level 2, 3 level 3, 2 level 4, and 1 level 5 spell. Next up we have the necromancer. Dice for cumulative hits is 7. Their fighting capability is wizard. 4 level 1s, 4 level 2s, 3 level 3s, 3 level 4s, and 2 level 5 spells. Next up we have the wizard. Their dice for cumulative hits are 8 plus 1. Their fighting capability is wizard. 4 each of level 1, 2, and 3 spells. 3 each of levels 4 and 5. So yeah, 4 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, 3 4s, and 3 5s. Next up we have the wizard 12th level. Their dice for cumulative hits is 8 plus 2. They fight as a wizard, and they have all 4s for every level spell except for they have 1 6th level spell. A wizard of the 13th level has dice for cumulative hits of 8 plus 3. They fight as a wizard, and they have 5 spells of level 1, 5 of level 2, 5 of level 3, 4 level 4 spells, 4 level 5 spells, and 2 level 6 spells. Next up is wizard of the 14th level. They have 8 plus 4 dice for cumulative hits. They fight as a wizard plus 1, and they have the same as before. They've got 5 level 1s, 5 level 2s, 5 level 3s. They have 4 level 4s, they have 4 level 5s, but they get 3 level 6s. A wizard of the 15th level has dice for cumulative hits of 9 plus 1. Their fighting capability is wizard plus 1. And they've got 3 5s for the first, second. So they got 5 for the first, 5 for the second, 5 for the third, and then 3 4s. 4 for the 4th, 4 for the 5th, and 4 for the 6th. And then finally we have our wizard of the 16th level. They have 9 plus 2 dice for cumulative hits. They fight as a wizard plus 2, and they've got 5 spells at every level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They got 5 of each. Finally, we come to the clerics. The first level cleric is Acolyte. The Acolyte has 1 dice for cumulative hits. They fight as a man, and they get no spells. No spells at a level 1 cleric. Interesting. The second level cleric is the Adept. They have 2 dice for cumulative hits. They fight as a man plus 1, and they get 1 level 1 spell. A village priest comes next with 3 hit dice. They fight as 2 men, and they have 2 level 1 spells. Next up is the Vicar. The Vicar has 4 dice for cumulative hits. They fight as 3 men, and they have 2 level 1 spells and 1 level 2. Next up we have the Curate. 4 plus 1 hit dice. They fight as 3 men plus 1, and they have 2 level 1 spells and 2 level 2 spells. Above the Curate is the Bishop. They have 5 dice for cumulative hits. They fight as a hero plus 1, and they have 2 level 1 spells. They have 2 level 2 spells. They have 1 level 3 and 1 level 4. And I want to point out, I don't know if it's a typo or not, but where it says fighting capability, it just says hero space 1. I think there should be a plus 1 there. Or possibly a minus 1. They might have left off the minus 1, because next up, the Llama. That's 1 L, not 2. The Llama fights with, or has 6 dice for cumulative hits. They fight as a hero. So I'm guessing the Bishop should be hero minus 1. The Llama fights as a straight hero. Has 2 level 1 spells, 2 level 2 spells, 2 level 3 spells, 1 level 4 spell, and 1 level 5. Above the Llama is the Patriarch, who gets 7 dice for cumulative hits. The Patriarch fights as a hero plus 1. And they have 2s of each spell level except none for 6. So 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, and 2 level 5s. The next level up is the Patriarch 9th level, which is got dice for cumulative hits of 7 plus 1. They fight as a superhero 1. So again, I'm not sure if that's a plus 1 or a minus 1. It just says superhero space 1. So, not sure at this point. Maybe it'll become clear as we read on. But they've got 3 level 1, 3 level 2, 3 level 3 spells, and then as well they have 2 level 4 and 2 level 5 spells. Finally is the Patriarch 10th level, who has hit dice of 7 plus 2. They also have Superhero 1, neither positive nor negative, so I'm not sure. And they have 3 of each spell type except for level 6. They get no level. So clerics never get a level 6 spell, it looks like. So, that was probably a little hard to listen to, just me reading off a list. But it's in the table, it's in the book, and I am committed to reading the whole thing for you without any snide comments or sippy noises. You will get a throat clear on occasion. Experience points. Experience points are awarded to players by the referee with appropriate bonuses or penalties for prime requisite scores. And prime requisite was underlined, by the way. As characters meet monsters in Mortal Kombat and defeat them, and when they obtain various forms of treasure, money, gems, jewelry, magical items, etc., they gain experience, and experiences in quotes here. This adds to their experience point total, gradually moving them upwards through the levels. Gains in experience points will be relative. Thus, an 8th level magic user operating on the 5th dungeon level would be awarded 5/8 experience. Let us assume he gains 7,000 gold pieces by defeating a troll, which is a 7th level monster as it has over 6 hit dice. Had the monster only been a 5th level one, experience would be awarded on a 5/8 basis as already stated, but as the monster guarding the treasure was a 7th level one, experience would be awarded on a 7 over 8 basis. Thus, 7,000 gold pieces plus 700 for killing the troll equals 7,700 divided by 8 equals 962.5 times 7 equals 6,037.5. Experience points are never awarded above a 1-for-1 basis, so even if a character defeats a higher level monster, he will not receive experience points above the total of the treasure combined with the monster's skill value. It is also recommended that no more experience points be awarded for any single adventure than will suffice to move the character upwards 1 level. Thus, a veteran, 1st level, gains what would ordinarily be 5,000 experience points. However, as this would move him upwards 2 levels, the referee should award only sufficient points to bring him to warrior, 2nd level, say 3,999 if the character began with 0 experience points. Levels. There is no theoretical limit to how high a character may progress, i.e. 20th level Lord, 20th level Wizard, etc. Distinct names have only been included for the base levels, but this does not influence progression. Dice for accumulative hits, or in parentheses, hit dice. This indicates the number of dice which are rolled in order to determine how many hit points a character can take. Pluses are merely the number of pips to add to the total of all dice rolled, not to each die. Thus, a superhero gets 8 dice plus 2. They are rolled and score 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6 totals. 26 plus 2 equals 28. 28 being the number of points of damage the character could sustain before death. Whether sustaining accumulative hits will otherwise affect a character is left to the discretion of the referee. So from this example, it sounds like player character hit dice are 6-sided, because the example had a 1-1, a couple 2s, a couple 3s, a 4, a 5, and a 6, adding up to 26. And then because it was a superhero, we got plus 2. Interesting, the plus 2 does not count for each dice that gets rolled. So each time he levels up, he doesn't roll another d6 and add 2 to it. He just gets 2 on top of the total accumulated. Interesting. Fighting capability. This is a key to use in conjunction with the chainmail fantasy rule, as modified in various places herein. An alternative system will be given later for those who prefer a different method. Spells and levels. The number above each column is the spell level, in parentheses, complexity, a somewhat subjective determination on the part of your authors, end parentheses. The number in each column opposite each applicable character indicates the number of spells of each level that can be used. Remember, during any single adventure, by that character, spells are listed and explained later. A spell used once may not be reused in the same day. Levels above those listed. Progressions of dice for accumulative hits. Fighting capability and spells and levels may not be evident. An 11th level lord would get 10 plus 3 dice and fight as he did at the 10th level, but at 12th level, he could get 11 plus 1 dice and fight at a superhero plus 2. At 13th level, dice would be 11 plus 3 with fighting capability at superhero plus 2. A 17th level wizard would get 9 plus 3 dice and fight as a 16th level, just as an 18th level wizard would get dice of 10 plus 1 with no changing in fighting capabilities. The change coming at the 19th level, fighting then being done at wizard plus 3. An 11th level patriarch would get dice of 7 plus 3 with fighting capability unchanged. At 12th level, dice would be 8 plus 1 with no change in fighting. And at 13th level, the patriarch would get 8 plus 2 and fight as a superhero. The next change in fighting capability coming at the 17th level. Spell progression for magic users is 17th level wizard, 6, 6, 6, 5, 5, 5. 18th level wizard, sizes across the board and so on. Spell progression for clerics is 11th level patriarch, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3. 12th level patriarch, 4s across the board. 13th level patriarch, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, and so on. Alternative combat system. This system is based upon the defensive and offensive capabilities of the combatants. Such things as speed, ferocity, and weaponry of the monster attacking are subsumed in the matrices. There are 2 charts, one for men versus men or monsters, and one for monsters, including kobolds, goblins, orcs, etc., versus men. Attack Matrix 1, men attacking. So we are solving for the target, and so we've got armor class is one column, description is the second column, and then there's a 20-sided die score to hit by level. And so level 1 to 3 has one column, 4 to 6 has a second column, 7 to 9 is the third, 10 to 12 is the fourth, 13 to 15 is the fifth, and 16 or better is the, what was I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 16 or better is the sixth. So let's go through the table. Armor class 2 is plate armor and shield. If the let's see. Well, I guess it's just you're okay. So if you are level 1 to 3 and your target is an armor class of 2, which means plate armor and shield, if you are level 1 to 3, then you need to get a 17 or better on a d20 to hit them. If you are level 4 to 6, you need to get a 15 or better. If you are level 7 to 9, you need to get a 12 or better. If you are level 10 to 12, you need a 10 or better. 13 through 15, you need an 8 or better. And if you are level 16 or higher, all you need to do to hit is get a 5. The next one down is armor class 3, plate armor. And you'll see it's the same list as before, but it's just subtract 1. So if you're 1 to 3, you need to get a 16 instead of a 17. If you're 4 to 6, you need to get a 14 instead of a 15. If you're 7 to 9, you need to get an 11 instead of a 12. If you're 10 to 12, you need to get a 9 instead of a 10. If you're 13 to 15, you need to get a 7. And if you're 16 or better, you only need to get a 4 or better. So the armor class is going up in number, but as the armor class gets higher, the easier it is to hit them. So let me just visually check, and it looks like it just, for each column goes down by 1 as the armor class goes up. So the only one that doesn't change is if you're 16 or better. Once you get to armor class 6 and up, it's just all 1s because you can't roll lower than a 1, right? So I'm trying to figure out the best way to read this. I don't know if reading it across makes more sense or if I should read it down. Let's do it down. So if you are level 1 through 3, if you're trying to hit armor class 2, which is plate armor and shield, you need a 17. To hit plate armor, which is level 3, you need a 16. To hit chainmail and shield, which is armor class 4, you need a 15. To hit just chainmail with no shield, which is armor class 5, you need a 14. To hit leather armor and shield, which is armor class 6, you need a 13. Leather armor only is armor class 7, and your level 1 through 3 will only need a 12. If all they have is a shield, you just need an 11 or better. And if they have no armor or shield, then you need to roll a 10. So if they're unarmed, they're armor class 9. Well, not unarmed, but if they're unarmored, they're armor class 9, and you've got a 50-50 shot of hitting them at levels 1 through 3. 4 through 6, just basically if you jump into that tier, you just subtract 2 from what you need to hit. So if you're 4 through 6, armor class 2, you need a 15. Armor class 3, you need a 14. Armor class 4, you need a 13. Chainmail, you need a 12. Leather and shield, you need 11. Armor class 7, or leather armor only, you need a 10. A shield only, you need a 9. And nothing, you need an 8. The next tier up is level 7 and 9. Armor class 2, you hit on a 12. Armor class 3, you hit on 11. Armor class 4, you hit on a 10. Chainmail, armor class 5, you hit on a 9. Armor class 6, you hit on an 8. Armor class 7, you hit on a 7. Armor class 8, you hit on a 6. Armor class 9, which is nothing, you hit on a 5. And then once again, as you're going horizontally across the table, you can just subtract 2 to get your numbers down from there. So if you're on levels 10 through 12, for armor class 2, instead of a 12, you just need to get a 10. 3 gets you a 9. 4, you hit on an 8. 5, you hit on a 7. 6, you hit on a 6. 7, you hit on a 5. 8, you hit on a 4. 9, you hit on a 3. Is it making sense so far? We're going to subtract 2 more and jump over 1 more column. Now we're in the level 13 through 15. And from armor class 2 through 9, it just goes 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jumping 1 over yet again, we're going to subtract 3 this time. And so armor class 2, you need a 5 or better if you are level 16 or above. Armor class 3, you need a 4 or better. Armor class 4, you need a 3 or better. Armor class 5, you need a 2 or better. And then from 6 through 9, it's just 1s. So there is a star next to 20-sided die score to hit by level, and there is a footnote under the table. It says, fighting men, and then colon, magic users advance in steps based on 5 levels groups. So instead of 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, it is 1 to 5 for the first column for magic users. It's 6 to 10 for the second column, etc. And clerics in steps based on 4 levels per group. So 1 to 4, 5 to 8, that kind of thing. So you may have to draw your own chart depending on if you are a magic user or a cleric using this as a base. It says normal men equal first level fighters. All attacks which score hits do 1 to 6 points damage unless otherwise noted. So you're rolling a d6 for damage most of the time. Attack Matrix 2. Monsters attacking. All right, here we go. So again, the armor class is going to be 2 through 9. The description says all as in table 1 above. So I'm not going to keep reading the plate armor and shield, plate armor, that kind of thing. But in this one, instead of the level, it is determined by the monster's hit dice. So this is the monster trying to attack the man. So if the monster has dice up to 1, that's the first column. If they have 1 plus 1, which means, 1 die 8 plus 1 or 1 die 6 plus 1. I'm not sure if monsters... I'm thinking in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons where a hit dice is a d8, but I'm not sure what the hit dice is for monsters in this one. So Anyway, 1 plus 1, so 1 hit dice plus a pip is the next column. And then hit dice 2 to 3 is the third column. Hit dice 3 to 4 is the fourth. The fifth column is hit dice 4 to 6. The sixth one is 6 to 8. The seventh one is 9 to 10. And then 11 and up is the final column. So if you are a monster that has hit dice up to and including 1, it looks just like the levels 1 to 3 for the fighter, really. 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. If they are 1 plus 1, just subtract 1 from each of those. So armor class 2, you need to get a 16 to hit. Armor class 9, they need to get a 9 or better to hit. And going down by 1s each of those. Is that too shorthand? Should I go ahead and read them for completion? Yeah, let's do it real quick. So armor class 2, 16 to hit, 3, 15 to hit, 4, 14 to hit, 5, 13 to hit, 6, 12 to hit, armor class 7, 11 to hit, armor class 8, 10 to hit, and armor class 9, 9 to hit. Likewise, if the monster has 2 to 3 hit dice, they'll hit a 2 on 15, they'll hit a 3 on 14, they'll hit a 4 on 13, they'll hit a 5 on 12. They'll hit an armor class of 6 on 11, they'll hit a 7 on 10, they'll hit an 8 on 9, and they'll hit an armor class of 9 on 8 or better. If your monster is 3 to 4 hit dice, it starts at 13 and just goes down by 1s. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And likewise, if they're 4 to 6, it goes down by 1s again. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. 6 to 8, we're just going down one more, going horizontally, and then down 1s going vertical. So to hit armor class 2, a 6 to 8 hit dice monster needs an 11. For 3 a 10, for 4 a 9, for 5 an 8, for 6 a 7, for 7 a 6, for 8 a 5, and for 9 a 4. If the monster has 9 to 10 hit dice, it starts at 9 for armor class 2. So they need a 9 or better for armor class 2. For armor class 3 and 8, for 4 a 7 will hit, for 5 a 6 will hit, for 6 a 5 will hit, for 7 a 4 hits, for 8 a 3 hits, and for 9 a 2 hits. And then an 11 or higher hit dice monster, they're hitting armor class 2 on a 7. They're hitting 3 on a 6. They're hitting 4 on a 5. They're hitting 5 on a 4. They're hitting 6 on a 3 or better. They're hitting 7 on a 2 or better. They're hitting 8 on a 1 or better. And for a 9, it says 0. So they will automatically hit a 9, 8 or a 9. A shield only or no armor or shield. They automatically hit, barring any kind of modifiers. All base scores to hit will be modified by magic, armor, and weaponry. Missile hits will be scored by using the above tables at long range and decreasing armor class by 1 at medium and 2 at short range. Okay, so if I'm shooting, I don't need a separate table for shooting missiles. If I'm shooting arrows, I just use this table if it's at long range. And if it's at medium range, I just decrease their armor class by 1 of my target. And if it's at short range, I decrease the armor class by 2. Now, when they say decrease the armor class, I'm assuming they mean go from a 2 to a 3 would be a decrease. Because it would make sense to me that the closer they are, the easier it would be to hit them. But that may just be an assumption. Next up, we have another table, the saving throw matrix. And so here are, the first column is class and level. The second column is death, ray, or poison. The third one is all wands, including polymorph or paralyzation. Then we have a column for stone, a column for dragon breath, and a column for staves and spells. So, a fighting man of level 1 to 3 will save against poison on a 12 or better, will save against wands, polymorph, and paralyzation against a 13 or better, will save against a stone at 14, save against dragon breath at 15, and save against staves and spells at 16. A magic user's levels 1 through 5 will save on death ray or poison at 13, all wands at 14, stone at 13, dragon breath at 16, staves and spells at 15. A cleric of level 1 through 4 will make a death ray or poison save at 11 or better. All wands, including polymorph or paralyzation, at 12 or better. Cleric saves against stone at 14 or better. A cleric saves against dragon breath at 16 or better. And a cleric saves against staves and spells at a 15 or better. Now we're going to jump up a level. So we got fighters from levels 4 to 6. They save against death ray or poison at 10, wands at 11, stone at 12, dragon breath 13, staves and spells 14. Magic users from level 6 to 10 save against death ray or poison from an 11 or better. All wands at 12, stone at 11, dragon breath at 14, staves and spells at 12. A cleric of levels 5 to 8 saves on death ray or poison at 9. All wands at 10, stone at 12, dragon breath at 14, staves and spells at 12. A fighter of level 7 to 9 now will save against death ray or poison at 8. Wands at 9, stone at 10, dragon's breath at 10, staves and spells at 12. Magic users from 11 to 15 save at death ray or poison at 8. Wands at 9, stone at 8, dragon breath at 11, staves and spells at 8. Clerics from levels 9 to 12 save on death ray or poison at 6. They save on all wands, or including polymorph and paralyzation, at 7. Save on stone at 9, save on dragon breath at 11, save on staves and spells at 9. Finally, penultimately for the fighter, 10 to 12, they've got a 6 save on death ray or poison. They've got a 7 save on all wands. They've got an 8 on stone, 8 on dragon breath, and 10 on staves and spells. The magic users 16 and better save on death ray or poison at 5, all wands at 6, stone at 5, dragon breath 8, staves and spells at 3. The cleric of 13 or better saves on death ray or poison at 3 or better, all wands at 5, stone at 7, dragon breath 8, staves and spells at 7. And the fighter, 13 or better, death ray or poison at 4, all wands at 5, stone at 5, dragon breath 5, and staves and spells at 8. So it's kind of hard, on audio to draw any conclusions from a table like this. But let me just state some of the stuff that I see. I'm just looking at the first little clump of fighting men 1 to 3, magic user 1 to 5, and cleric 1 to 4. Cleric does the best against death rays and poison. Magic user does the worst. Cleric does the best against all wands. Magic user again does the worst. The cleric and fighting man are about the same for stone, and the magic user actually does a little better. The fighting man does the best against dragon's breath, and the magic user and cleric are tied. And then the fighting man does the worst against staves and spells, whereas the magic user and cleric are tied. So if you're wondering which class does the best against what, that's kind of a breakdown of that. If you're wondering what type of attack does the best in general, it looks like the ones that are nastiest to save against are staves and spells and dragon breath. But none of them are very good at the low levels. All right. Reading the footnote at the bottom of the saving throw matrix. Failure to make the total indicated above results in the weapon having full effect, i.e., you are turned to stone, take full damage from dragon's breath, etc. Scoring the total indicated above or scoring higher means the weapon has no effect, death ray, polymorph, paralyzation, stone, or spell, or 1/2 effect for poison, scoring 1/2 of the total possible hit damage, and dragon's breath, scoring 1/2 of its full damage. Wands of cold, fireballs, lightnings, etc., and staves are treated as indicated, but saving throws being made result in 1/2 damage. So next up, guess what we have? If you guessed another table, you were correct. Next up is the spells table, and we're going to start with magic users. So the first level magic user has 8 spells: detect magic, hold portal, read magic, read languages, protection from evil, light, charm person, and sleep. The second level magic users have the following spells. the second level spells are available to the magic user. Let me put it that way. Detect invisible, levitate, phantasmal forces. Woo, second level spell. Locate object, invisibility, wizard lock, detect evil, ESP, continual light, and knock. And now remember, the level of the spell is not the same as the level of the magic user. Like if I go back to the tables we started with in this session, a magic user doesn't even get a second level spell until they're actually third level. So don't be confused by, when I call the spell level. So picking up with the third level spells, we have fly, hold person, dispel magic, clairvoyance, clairaudience, fireball, lightning bolt, protection from evil, 10-foot radius, invisibility, 10-foot radius, infravision, slow spell, haste spell, protection from normal missiles, and water breathing. Fourth level, we get polymorph self, we get polymorph others, remove curse, wall of fire, wall of ice, confusion, charm monster, growth plant, dimension door, wizard eye, mass morph, and hallucinatory terrain. Fifth level, we get teleport, hold monster, conjure elemental, telekinesis, transmute rock to mud, wall of stone, wall of iron, animate dead, magic jar, contact higher plane, pass wall, cloud kill, feeble mind, and growth animal. Sixth level magic spells are stone to flesh, reincarnation, invisible stalker, lower water, part water, projected image, anti-magic shell, death spell, gas, disintegrate, move earth, control weather. So those are the 6 levels of magic user spells. Now we're going to move on to the cleric spells. The cleric gets far fewer spells, and it only goes up to 5th level. So starting with 1st level, we have cure light wounds, purify food and water, detect magic, detect evil, protection from evil, and light. And all of those were underlined. It's worth noting. None of the magic user spells are underlined. I'm sorry, detect magic was not underlined. We'll see what the underlining means later, I hope. Second level is find traps, hold person, bless, which is the only underlined spell in this level, and speak with animals. Third level is remove curse, cure disease, which is underlined, locate object, and continual light, which is underlined. Fourth level is neutralize poison, cure serious wounds, which is underlined, protection from evil, 10-foot radius, which is underlined in the cleric version, turn sticks to snakes, speak with plants, and create water. And then the 5th level, dispel evil, which is underlined, raise dead, commune, quest, insect plague, and create food. How interesting in the 4th level that turn sticks to snakes is included. I wonder where we see that. The next table is clerics versus undead monsters. So we get a monster type is the first column, and then we get the level of the cleric: acolyte, adept, priest, vicar, curate, bishop, lama, and patriarch. The types are skeleton, zombie, ghoul, wight, wraith, mummy, specter, and vampire. So it will either have a number or a letter underneath. And the note at the bottom says, numbers are the score to match or exceed in order to turn away, rolled with 2 6-sided dice. Okay, so this is not a D20 roll. This is 2 6-siders, which has a more distributed bell curve, not as swingy as a D20. If you get a T, it means the monster is turned away, up to 2 dice in number. If you get a D, it means dispelled, dissolved, up to 2 dice in number. So pretty much destroyed, really. And N is no effect. So the acolyte turns a skeleton on a 7, turns a zombie on a 9, turns a ghoul on 11, and has no effect on anything more powerful. Wight, wraith, mummy, specter, vampire, acolyte just ain't gonna cut it. If you move up a little bit, the adept will turn a skeleton. They just got a T, so the skeleton automatically gets turned. No dice roll necessary. They will turn a zombie on a 7 or better, a ghoul on a 9 or better, a wight on an 11 or better, and that's as far as they go. The village priest automatically turns a skeleton and a zombie. It turns a ghoul on a 7 or better. It turns a wight on a 9 or better. It turns a wraith on an 11 or better. Mummy, specters, and vampires are no effect. No soup for supper on those ones. The vicar. It's the vicar. They destroy a skeleton, or dissolve or dispel, however you want to say it. They drop the D. Nope, not going to say it like that. The vicar destroys a skeleton automatically. They automatically turn a zombie and a ghoul. On a 7 or better, they will turn a wight. On a 9 or better, they will turn a wraith. On an 11 or better, they'll turn a mummy. No dice on the specter, no dice on the vampire. The curate will destroy skeletons and zombies automatically. Ghouls and wights are automatically turned. Their 7, 9, 11 goes on a wraith, mummy, a specter, but the vampire still laughs at the curate. The bishop. Skeletons, zombies, and ghouls automatically destroyed. Wights and wraiths are automatically turned. The 7 goes to the mummy, the 9 goes to the specter, and the vampire. If you throw the boxcars, if you get an 11 or a 12, the vampire will turn. The llama, which I still think is weird as far as just theme. But anyway, like, why couldn't that have been a cardinal or something? Anywho, the llama destroys a skeleton, a zombie, a ghoul, a wight. It turns a wraith and a mummy. On a 7 or better, it'll turn a specter. On a 9 or better, it'll turn a vampire. And then the patriarch. Everything gets destroyed unless it's a mummy, which will automatically get turned. A specter will automatically get turned. And a vampire will get turned on a 7 or better. A full explanation of each spell follows. Note that underlined clerical spells are reversed by evil clerics. Okay, so everything that I read in the clerical spell table, if you are an evil cleric, it will reverse it and do the opposite. For example, purify food and water could probably poison or putrefy food and water. I like putrefy because it only adds a T to the word. Anywho. A full explanation of each spell follows. Note that underlined clerical spells are reversed by evil clerics. Also note the clerics versus undead monsters table, indicating the strong effect of the various clerical levels upon the undead. However, evil clerics do not have this effect, the entire effect being lost. Explanation of spells. Magic users. First level. Detect magic. A spell to determine if there has been some enchantment laid on a person, place, or thing. It has a limited range and short duration. It is useful, for example, to discover if some item is magical, a door has been held or wizard locked, etc. Hold portal. A spell to hold a door, gate, or the like. It is similar to a locking spell, see below, but it is not permanent. Roll 2 dice to determine the duration of the spell in turns. Dispel magic, see below, will immediately negate it. A strong anti-magical creature will shatter it, and a knock, see below, will open it. Read magic. The means by which the incantations on an item or scroll are read. Without such a spell or similar device, magic is unintelligible to even a magic user. The spell is of short duration, 1 or 2 readings being the usual limit. Read languages. The means by which directions and the like are read, particularly on treasure maps. It is otherwise like the read magic spell above. Protection from evil. This spell hedges the conjurer round with a magic circle to keep out attacks from enchanted monsters. It also serves as an armor from various evil attacks, adding a +1 to all saving throws and taking a -1 from hit dice of evil opponents. Note that this spell is not cumulative in effect with magic armor and rings, though it will continue to keep out enchanted monsters. Duration 6 turns. Light. A spell to cast light in a circle 3 inches in diameter, not equal to full daylight. It lasts for a number of turns equal to 6 plus the number of levels of the user. Thus, a 7th level magic user would cast the spell for 13 turns. Charm Person. This spell applies to all 2-legged, generally mammalian figures, near to or less than man size, excluding all monsters in the undead class, but including sprites, pixies, nixies, kobolds, goblins, orcs, hobgoblins, and gnolls. If the spell is successful, it will cause the charmed entity to come completely under the influence of the magic user until such time as the charm is dispelled. Range 12 inches. Sleep. A sleep spell affects from 2 to 16 first level types. Hit dice of up to 1+1. From 2 to 12 second level types, hit dice of up to 2+1. From 1 to 6 third level types, and from 1 fourth level type, up to 4+1 hit dice. The spell always affects up to the number of creatures determined by the dice. If more than the number rolled could be affected, determine which sleep by random selection. Range 24 inches. Second level. Detect invisible objects. A spell to find secreted treasure hidden by an invisibility spell. It will also locate invisible creatures. Durations 6 turns. Range 1 inch times the level of the magic user casting it, i.e. a wizard would have a range of 11 inches more if he was above the base value. Levitate. This spell lifts the caster, all motion being in the vertical plane. However, the user could, for example, levitate to the ceiling and move horizontally by use of his hands. Duration 6 turns plus the level of the user. Range of levitation 2 inches per level of magic user, with upwards motion at 6 inches per turn. Phantasmal forces. The creation of vivid illusions of nearly anything the user envisions. A projected mental image, so to speak. As long as the caster concentrates on the spell, the illusion will continue unless touched by some living creature, so there is no limit on duration per se. Damage caused to viewers of a phantasmal force will be real if the illusion is believed to be real. Range 24 inches. Locate object. In order for this spell to be effective, it must be cast with certain knowledge of what is to be located. Thus, the exact nature, dimensions, coloring, etc. of some magical item would have to be known in order for the spell to work. Well-known objects, such as a flight of stairs leading upwards, can be detected with this spell. However, the spell gives the user the direction of the object desired, but not the distance. The desired object must be within range 6 inches to plus 1 inch per level, of the magic user employing the spell, i.e. a necromancer has a 16-inch range. Invisibility. A spell which lasts until it is broken by the user or by some outside force. Remember that as in chainmail, a character cannot remain invisible and attack. It affects only the person or thing upon whom or which it is cast. Range 24 inches. Wizard Lock. Similar to a hold portal, this spell lasts indefinitely. It can be opened by a knock without breaking the spell. A wizard lock can be passed through without a spell of any kind by a magic user 3 levels above the one who placed the spell. Detect Evil. A spell to detect evil thought or intent in any creature or evilly enchanted object. Note that poison, for example, is neither good nor evil. Duration 2 turns, range 6 inches. ESP. A spell which allows the user to detect the thoughts, if any, of whatever lurks behind doors or in the darkness. It can penetrate solid rock up to about 2 inches in thickness, but a thin coating of lead will prevent its penetration. Duration 12 turns, range 6 inches. Continual light. This spell creates a light wherever the caster desires. It sheds a circle of illumination 24 inches in diameter, but does not equal full daylight. It continues to shed light until dispelled. Range 12 inches. Knock. A spell which opens secret doors, held portals, doors locked by magic, barred or otherwise secured gates, etc. Range 6 inches. Third level. Fly. By means of this spell, the user is able to fly at a speed of up to 12 inches per turn. The spell lasts for the number of turns equal to the level of the magic user, plus the number of pips on a 6-sided die, which is secretly determined by the referee. Oh, I like that. You don't know how long you're going to fly. The referee picks it out. That's cool. A little bit dangerous. Hold person. A spell similar to a charm person, but which is of both limited duration and greater effect. It will affect from 1 to 4 persons. If it is cast at only a single person, it has the effect of reducing the target's saving throw against magic by -2. Duration, 6 turns plus level of the caster. Range 12 inches. Dispel magic. Unless countered. This spell will be effective in dispelling enchantments of most kinds, referee's option, except those on magical items and the like. This is modified to the following formula. The success of a dispel magic spell is at a ratio of the dispeller over the original spellcaster. So, if a 5th level magic user attempts to dispel the spell of a 10th level magic user, there is a 50% chance of success. Duration, 1 turn. Range, 12 inches. Clairvoyance. Same as ESP spell, except the spell user can visualize rather than merely pick up thoughts. Clairaudience. Same as clairvoyance, except it allows hearing rather than visualization. This is one of the few spells which can be cast through a crystal ball. See Volume 2. Fireball. A missile which springs from the finger of the magic user. It explodes with a burst radius of 2 inches, slightly larger than specified in chainmail. In a confined space, the fireball will generally conform to the shape of the space, elongate or whatever. The damage caused by the missile will be in proportion to the level of its user. A 6th level magic user throws a 6-die missile, a 7th a 7-die missile, and so on. Note that fireballs from scrolls, see Volume 2, and wands are 6-die missiles, and those from staves are 8-die missiles. Duration, 1 turn, range 24 inches. Lightning bolt. Utterance of this spell generates a lightning bolt 6 inches long and up to 3/4 inch wide. If the space is not long enough to allow its full extension, the missile will double back to attain 6 inches, possibly striking its creator. It is otherwise similar to a fireball, but as stated in chainmail, the head of the missile may never extend beyond the 24-inch range. No comment. Protection from evil. 10-foot radius. A protection from evil spell, which extends to include a circle around the magic user and also lasts for 12 turns rather than 6 turns. Invisibility. 10-inch radius. An invisibility spell with an extended projection, but otherwise no different from the former spell. Infravision. This spell allows the recipient to see infrared light waves, thus enabling him to see in total darkness. Duration, 1 day. Range of infravision, 40 to 60 feet. Slow spell. A broad area spell which affects up to 24 creatures in a maximum area of 6 by 12 inches. Duration, 3 turns. Range, 24 inches. Haste spell. And this is exactly the opposite of a slow spell in effect, but otherwise like it. Note that it will counter its opposite, and vice versa. Protection from normal missiles. The recipient of this charm becomes impervious to normal missiles. This implies only those missiles projected by normal, not above normal, men and or weapons. Duration, 12 turns, range 3 inches. Water breathing, a spell whereby it is possible to breathe underwater without harm or difficulty. Duration 12 turns, range 3 inches. And now we come to the 4th level spells. Polymorph Self, a spell allowing the user to take the shape of anything he desires, but he will not thereby acquire the combat abilities of the thing he has polymorphed himself to resemble. That is, while the user may turn himself into a dragon of some type, he will not gain the ability to fight and breathe, but he will be able to fly. Duration 6 turns plus the level of the magic user employing it. Polymorph Others. Unlike the spell to polymorph self, this spell lasts until it is dispelled. The spell gives all characteristics of the form of the creature, so a creature polymorphed into a dragon acquires all of the dragon's ability, not necessarily mentality, however. Likewise, a troll polymorphed into a snail would have innate resistance to being stepped on and crushed by a normal man. Range 6 inches. Remove Curse. A spell to remove any one curse or evil sending. Note that using this spell on a cursed sword, for example, would make the weapon an ordinary sword, not some form of enchanted blade. Range adjacent to the object. Wall of Fire. The spell will create a wall of fire which lasts until the magic user no longer concentrates to maintain it. The firewall is opaque. It prevents creatures with under 4 hit dice from entering or passing through. Undead will take 2 dice of damage, 2 to 12, and other creatures 1 die, 1 to 6, when breaking through the fire. The shape of the wall can be either a plane of up to 6 inches width and 2 inches in height, or it can be cast in a circle of 3 inches diameter and 2 inches in height. Range 6 inches. Wall of Ice, a spell to create a wall of ice 6 inches thick in dimensions like that of the Wall of Fire. It negates the effects of creatures employing fire and or fire spells. It may be broken through by creatures with 4 or more hit dice, with damage equal to 1 die, 1 die 6, for non-fire employing creatures, and double that for fire users. Range 12 inches. Confusion. This spell will immediately affect creatures with 2 or fewer hit dice. For creatures above 2 hit dice, the following formula is used to determine when the spell takes effect. Score of a 12-sided die roll less the level of the magic user casting the spell equals delay in effect, i.e., a positive difference means a turn delay, while a 0 or negative difference means immediate effect. Creatures with 4 or more hit dice will have saving throws against magic, and on those turns they make their saving throws, they are not confused. But this check must be made each turn the spell lasts, and failure means they are confused. The spell will affect as many creatures as indicated by the score rolled on 2 6-sided dice, with the addition of +1 for each level above the 8th that the magic user casting the spell has attained. Confused creatures will attack the magic user's party, dice score of 2 to 5, stand around doing nothing, 6 to 8, or attack each other, 9 to 12. Roll each turn, duration 12 turns, range 12 inches. Charm Monster, the counterpart of a Charm Person spell, which is employable against all creatures. If animals or creatures with 3 or fewer hit dice are involved, determine how many are affected by the spell by rolling 3 6-sided dice. It is otherwise identical to the Charm Person spell. Growth of Plants. This spell causes normal brush or woods to become thickly overgrown and entangled with creepers, vines, thorns, briars, and so on, so as to make the area virtually impassable. It will affect an area of up to 30 square inches, the dimensions decided by the caster of the spell. Duration, until the spell is negated by a dispel magic. Range 12 inches. Dimension Door, a limited teleport spell which allows the object to be instantaneously transported up to 36 inches in any direction, including up or down. There is no chance of misjudging when using a dimension door, so the user always arrives exactly where he calls, i.e., 12 inches upwards, 32 inches east, etc. Range 1 inch. Wizard Eye, a spell which allows the user to send a visual sensor up to 24 inches away in order to observe the scene without himself moving. The eye is invisible. It moves 12 inches per turn. Duration, 6 turns. Mass Morph. This spell is used to conceal up to 100 men or creatures of near man's size as a woods or orchards. The concealed figures may be moved through without being detected as anything other than trees, and it will not affect the spell. It will be negated by a command for the caster or by means of a dispel magic spell. Range 24 inches. Hallucinatory terrain. By means of this spell, terrain features can either be hidden or created, an illusion which creates a large area. Thus a swamp, hill, ridge, woods, or the like can be concealed or made to appear. The spell is broken when the magic area is contacted by an opponent. Range 24 inches. And now we come to the 5th level magic user spells. Teleport. Instantaneous transportation from place to place, regardless of the distance involved, provided the user knows where he is going, the topography of the arrival area. Without certain knowledge of the destination, teleportation is 75% uncertain, so a score of less than 75% of the percentile dice results in death. Wow, 75% uncertain. So you only have a quarter chance of not dying if you don't know where you're headed. If the user is aware of the general topography of his destination, but has not carefully studied it, there is an uncertainty factor of 10% low and 10% high. A low score, 1 to 10%, means death if solid material is contacted. A high score, 91 to 100%, indicates a fall from 10 to 100 feet, also possibly resulting in death. I'm sorry, that's just... What a risky spell. If a careful study of the destination... I'm sorry, I am just busting up over that. That is ridiculous. Why would anybody risk it? You just see, if you see a magician and he is just like Tolkiening every blade of grass, like he is drawing it, he is, doing the director fingers to try and get a frame. You know that guy knows teleport and he is trying not to fuse himself with a rock or drop from 100 feet above. All right. If a careful study of the destination has been previously made, then the magic user has only a 1% chance of teleporting low and a 4% chance of coming in high, 10 to 40 feet. Hold monster. Same as hold person, but applicable to monsters. Conjure elemental. A spell to conjure an air, water, fire, or earth elemental. Only one of each type can be conjured by a magic user during any one day. The elemental will remain until dispelled, but the magic user must concentrate on control, or the elemental will turn upon its conjurer and attack him. See chainmail. Conjured elementals are the strongest, with 16 hit dice, as is explained in Volume 2, Monsters and Treasure. Range 24 inches. Telekinesis. By means of this spell, objects may be moved by mental force. Weight limits are calculated by multiplying the level of the magic user by 200 gold pieces weight. Thus, a necromancer is able to move a weight equal to 2,000 gold pieces. Duration 6 turns, range 12 inches. Transmute rock to mud. This spell takes effect in 1 turn, turning earth, sand, and of course rock to mud. The area affected is up to 30 square inches. Creatures moving into the mud will become mired, possibly sinking if heavy enough, or losing 90% of movement otherwise, unless able to fly or levitate. The spell can only be countered by reversing the incantation, requiring a transmute rock to mud spell, or by normal process of evaporation. 3 to 18 days is determined by rolling 3 6-sided dice. Range 12 inches. Wall of stone. The creation of a stone wall 2 feet thick with a maximum length and height equaling 10 square inches. The wall will last until dispelled, broken down, or battered through as a usual stone wall. Range 6 inches. Wall of iron. Like a wall of stone, but the thickness of the wall is 3 inches and its maximum area 5 square inches. Duration 12 turns, range 6 inches. Animate dead. The creation of animated skeletons or zombies. It in no way brings a creature back to life. For the number of dead animated, simply roll 1 die for every level above the 8th the magic user is. Thus, a sorcerer gets 1 die, or from 1 to 6 animated dead. Note that the skeletons or dead bodies must be available in order to animate them. The spell lasts until dispelled or the animated dead are done away with. Magic jar. By means of this device, the magic user houses his life force in some inanimate object, even a rock, and attempts to possess the body of any other creature within 12 inches of his magic jar. The container for his life force must be within 3 inches of his body at the time the spell is pronounced. Possession of another body takes place when the creature in question fails to make its saving throw against magic. If the possessed body is destroyed, the spirit of the magic user returns to the magic jar, and from thence it may attempt another possession, or return to the magic user's body. The spirit of the magic user can return to the magic jar at any time he so desires. Note that if the body of the magic user is destroyed, the life force must remain in a possessed body of the magic jar, or the magic jar, sorry. Let me just do that one again. Note that if the body of the magic user is destroyed, the life force must remain in a possessed body, or the magic jar. If the magic jar is destroyed, the magic user is totally annihilated. Contact higher plane. This spell allows the magical type to seek advice and gain knowledge from creatures inhabiting higher planes of existence, the referee in parentheses. Of course, the higher the plane contacted, the greater the number of questions that can be asked, the greater the chance that the information will be known, and the higher the probability that these questions will be answered truthfully. Use the table below to determine these factors, as well as the probability of the magic user going insane. Only questions which can be answered yes or no are permitted. So, on the third plane, 3 questions are permitted. There's a 25% chance of knowing. There's a 30% veracity, and the chance of insanity is nil. On the 4th plane, you can ask 4 questions. There is a 30% chance of knowing, a 40% chance of veracity, and a 10% chance of insanity. On the 5th plane, 5 questions, 35% chance of knowing, 50% veracity, and 20% chance of insanity. 6th plane, 6 questions can be asked, 40% chance of knowing, 60% chance of veracity, and a 30% chance of going insane. 7th level, 7 questions, 50% chance of knowing, 70% veracity, 40% chance of going insane. 8th level, 8 questions, 60% chance of knowing, 75% veracity, 50% insanity. 9th level, you can ask 9 questions. There's a 70% chance of knowing, an 80% chance of veracity, and a 60% chance of insanity. On the 10th level, 10 questions, 80% knowing, 85% veracity, 70% insanity. The 11th level, 11 questions, 90% chance of knowing, 90% veracity, 80% insanity. And the 12th level, you ask 12 questions. There is a 95% chance that they know the answer. There is a 100% chance that they will tell you the truth. You have a 90% chance of going insane. If a magic user goes insane, he will remain so for a number of weeks equal to the number of the plane he was attempting to contact, the strain making him totally incapacitated until the time has elapsed. For each level above the 11th, magic users should have a 5% better chance of retaining their sanity. The spell is usable only once every game week. Referee's option. Only once every game week. Interesting. Pass wall. A spell which opens a hole in a solid rock wall, man-sized and up to 10 feet in length, duration 3 turns, range 3 inches. Cloud Kill. This spell creates a moving, poisonous cloud of vapor which is deadly to all creatures with less than 5 hit dice. Movement 6 inches per turn according to wind direction, or directly away from the spellcaster if there is no wind. Dimensions 3-inch diameter, duration 6 turns, but the cloud is dispelled by unusually strong winds or trees. Note that the cloud is heavier than air, so it will sink to the lowest possible level. Feeble Mind. A spell usable only against magic users. It causes the recipient to become feeble-minded until the spell is countered with a dispel magic. Because of its specialized nature, the Feeble Mind spell has a 20% better chance of success, i.e., lowers the magic user's saving throw against magic by 4, so that if normally a 12 or better were required to save against magic, a 16 would be required against a Feeble Mind, range 24 inches. Okay, so there's a principle that when they say lowers, they means it gets harder, even if like you're talking an armor class or a roll. Growth of animals. A spell which will cause from 1 to 6 normal-sized animals, not merely mammals, to grow to giant size with proportionate attack capabilities. Duration 12 turns, range 12 inches. 6th level. This is the highest level of magic user spells. Stone to flesh. This spell turns stone to flesh, and it is reversible, so as to turn flesh to stone. It is particularly useful in reviving characters who have been stoned by some monster. It is permanent unless a reverse spell is used, range 12 inches. Reincarnation. A spell to bring a dead character back to life in some other form. The form in which the character is reincarnated is dependent upon his former alignment, law, neutrality, or chaos. Use a random determination on the character alignment table, and whatever the result is, the reincarnated character is that creature and must play as it. If he comes back as a man, determine which class and roll a 6-sided die to determine which level in that class, and similarly, check level for reincarnation as an elf or dwarf. Invisible Stalker. The conjuration of an extra-dimensional monster which can be controlled with merely a word from the magic user who conjured him. The Invisible Stalker will continue on its mission until it is accomplished, regardless of time or distance. They cannot be dispelled once conjured, except through attack. Details of the Invisible Stalker itself will be found in the next volume. Lower Water. Utterance of this spell causes the water level in a river or similar body of liquid to drop 50% of its depth for 10 turns, range 24 inches. Part Water. A spell which will part water up to 10 feet deep for a maximum of 6 turns, range 12 inches. I wonder where that one comes from. Projected Image. By means of this spell, the magic user projects an image of himself up to 24 inches away, and all spells and the like used thereafter appear to originate from the projected image. Duration 6 turns, range 24 inches. Anti-Magic Shell. A field which surrounds the magic user and makes him totally impervious to all spells. It also prevents any spells from being sent through the shell by the magic user who conjured it. Duration 12 turns. Death Spell. An incantation which kills from 2 to 16 creatures with fewer than 7 hit dice. The creature must be within an area of 6 by 6 to come under the spell. Range 24 inches. Geas. A spell which forces the recipient to perform some task as desired by the magic user casting the geas. Any attempt to deviate from the performance of the task will result in weakness, and ignoring the geas entirely brings death. The referee must carefully adjudicate the casting and subsequent performance of the geas individual when this spell is used. Duration until the task is completed, range 3 inches. Disintegrate. The spell will cause material of any kind other than that of a magical nature to disintegrate. It will blast a tree, dragon if it fails to make its saving throw against magic, wall section, or whatever. Range 6 inches. Move Earth. When above ground, the magic user may utilize this spell to move prominences such as hills or ridges. The spell takes 1 turn to go into effect. The terrain affected will move at the rate of 6 inches per turn. Duration 6 turns. Range 24 inches. Control Weather. The magic user can perform any one of the following weather control operations with this spell. Rain, stop rain. Cold wave, heat wave. Tornado, stop tornado. Deep clouds, clear sky. Clerics. All right, these are the cleric spells. First level, Cure Light Wounds. During the course of one full turn, this spell remove hits from a wounded character, including elves, dwarves, etc. A die is rolled, 1 pip added, and the resultant total subtracted from the hits points the character has taken. Let me read that one again. A die is rolled, 1 pip added, and the resultant total subtracted from the hits points the character has taken. Thus, from 2 to 7 hit points of damage can be removed. Purify food and water. This spell will make spoiled or poisoned food and water usable. The quantity subject to a single spell is approximately that which would serve a dozen people. Detect magic. This spell is the same as that for magic users. Detect evil. This spell is the same as that for magic users, except that it has a duration of 6 turns and a range of 12 inches. Protection from evil. This spell is the same as that for magic users, except that it lasts for 12 turns. Light. This spell is the same as that of magic users, except that it has a basic duration of 12 turns. Second level, Find Traps. By means of this spell, the cleric will locate any mechanical or magical traps within a radius of 3 inches. The spell lasts 2 turns. Hold Person. This spell is the same as that for magic users, except that its duration is 9 turns and its range 18 inches. Bless. During any turn, the prospective recipients of a bless spell are not in combat. The cleric may give them this benison. A blessing raises morale by +1, and also adds +1 to attack dice. The spell lasts 6 turns. Speak with animals. This spell allows the cleric to speak with any form of animal life, understanding what they say in reply. There is a possibility that the animals spoken with will perform services for the cleric, and they will never attack the party the cleric is with. The manner of handling the probabilities of action by animals is discussed in the next volume. Duration 6 turn, range 3 inches. Third level, Remove Curse. This spell is the same as that for magic users. Cure Disease. A spell which cures any form of disease. The spell is the only method to rid a character of a disease from a curse, for example. Locate Object. This spell is the same as that for magic users, except that the base range is 9 inches. Continual Light. This spell is the same as that for magic users, except that the light shed is equal to full daylight. Fourth level. Neutralize Poison. A spell to counter the harmful effects of poison. Note that it will not aid a character killed by poison, however. It will affect only one object. Duration 1 turn. Cure Serious Wounds. This spell is like a light wound spell, but the effects are double. So 2 dice are rolled and 1 pip is added to each die. Therefore, from 4 to 14 hit points will be removed by this spell. Protection from Evil, 10-foot radius. This spell is the same as that for magic users. Turn Sticks to Snakes. Anytime there are sticks nearby, a cleric can turn them into snakes, with a 50% chance that they will be poisonous. From 2 to 16 snakes can be conjured. Roll 2 8-sided dice. He can command these conjured snakes to perform as he orders. Duration 6 turns, range 12 inches. Speak with Plants. This spell allows the cleric to speak with all forms of plant life, understanding what they say in reply. Plants so spoken to will obey commands of the cleric, such as part to allow a passage and so on. This spell does not give the cleric the power to command trees as Ents do. Duration 6 turns, range 3 inches. Create Water. By means of this spell, the cleric can create a supply of drinkable water sufficient for a party of 12 men and horses for 1 day. The quantity doubles for every level above the 8th the cleric has attained. 5th level, Dispel Evil. Similar to a Dispel Magic spell, this allows a cleric to dispel any evil, sending, or spell within a 3-inch radius. It functions immediately. Duration 1 turn. Raise Dead. The cleric simply points his finger, utters the incantation, and the dead person is raised. This spell works with men, elves, and dwarves only. For each level, the cleric has progressed beyond the 8th. the time limit for resurrection extends another 4 days. Thus, an 8th level cleric can raise a body dead up to 4 days. A 9th level cleric can raise a body dead up to 8 days, and so on. Naturally, if the character's constitution was weak, the spell will not bring him back to life. In any event, raised characters must spend 2 game weeks' time recuperating from the ordeal. Commune, a spell which puts the cleric in touch with the powers above and asks for help in the form of answers to 3 questions. Communing is allowed but once each week, maximum. Referee's option as to making less frequent. Veracity and knowledge should be near total. Once per year, a special communing should be allowed wherein the cleric can ask double the number of questions. Quest. This is similar to the Geas, except that the character sent upon a quest by the cleric is not killed by failure to carry out the service. However, the cleric may curse him with whatever he desires for failure, and the referee should decide if such a curse will take effect if the character ignores the quest, basing the effectiveness of the curse on the phrasing of it and the alignment and actions of the character so cursed. Insect Plague. By means of this spell, the cleric calls to him a vast cloud of insects and sends them where he will, within the spell range. They will obscure vision and drive creatures with less than 3 hit dice off en route. The dimensions of the insect plague are 36 square inches. Duration, 1 game day. Range, 48 inches. Note, this spell is effective only above ground. Create Food, a spell with which the cleric creates sustenance sufficient for a party of 12 for 1 game day. The quantity doubles for every level above the 8th the cleric has attained. Note, there are anti-clerics listed below who have similar powers to clerics. Those clerical spells underlined on the table for cleric spells have a reverse effect, all other functioning as noted. The chief exception is the Raise Dead spell, which becomes the Finger of Death. Instead of raising the dead, this spell creates a death ray, which will kill any creature unless a saving throw is made, where applicable. Range 12 inches. A cleric type may use this spell in a life or death situation, but misuse will immediately turn him into an anti-cleric. Anti-clerics: evil acolyte, evil adept, shaman, evil priest, evil curate, evil bishop, evil lama, evil high priest. Magical research. Both magic users and clerics may attempt to expand on the spells listed as applicable by class. This is a matter of time and investment. The level of the magic required to operate the spells, determination by referee, dictates the initial investment. Investment for first level is 2,000 gold pieces. Second level is 4,000 gold pieces. Third level is 8,000 gold pieces. Fourth level is 16,000 gold pieces. Fifth level is 32,000 gold pieces. And sixth level is 64,000 gold pieces. The time required is 1 week per spell level. For every amount equal to the basic investment spent, there is a 20% chance of success cumulative. An investment of 10,000 gold pieces in order to develop new first level spell, for example, has 100% chance of success after 1 game week. The level of the spell researched must be consistent with the level of the magic user or cleric involved, i.e., the character must be able to use spells equal to or above the level of the one he desires to create. Once a new spell is created, the researcher may include it in the list appropriate to its level. He may inform others of it, thus enabling them to utilize it, or he may keep it to himself. Books of spells. Characters who employ spells are assumed to acquire books containing the spells they can use, 1 book for each level. If a duplicate set of such books is desired, the cost will be the same as the initial investment for research as listed above, i.e. 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, etc. Loss of these books will require replacement at the above expense. And that is the end of Dungeons & Dragons, Rules for Fantastic Medieval Wargame Campaigns, playable with paper and pencil and miniature figures, Men and Magic, Volume 1. So, thanks for going on this journey with me. We are a third of the way through the little brown books in the first white box. Our next book coming up will be called Monsters and Treasure. That is the second volume. And thank you for sticking through this with me. I thought it would be valuable for people that don't have as much time to read. If you're driving a lot, if you're working on spreadsheets at work or coding or whatever. I know I don't have the greatest voice. I don't always have the greatest phrasing, but just an honest reading of the material without a whole lot of extra commentary. Sometimes I do get cracked up and stuff, but if you are enjoying this, please give me the thumbs up and let me know that you're liking it. I'm not sure if I should continue going along. I am not a professional narrator or anything like that, but I'm having fun looking back at the source of the hobby and taking you along with me. So until next time, thanks for letting Dunder read you to sleep.